Let's see. Okay, there you go. Let me have a look at this. And also quickly say, yeah, I just completely blanked yesterday on having to do, not having to, but that I needed to do this. Oh, interesting. I guess that's actually not too surprising. You know, this is actually kind of helpful as a learning experience as well to find this out. So yeah, just very weird weekend. Schedule nothing like it normally is. And that just, yeah. You know, this is actually okay, kind of. And stream is going. I will need to put in the thumbnail manually, it appears. So okay, this is actually very interesting. So instead of scheduling, I just hit go live. Oh yeah, no, yeah, I'll go with that. I'll go with that. I literally just finished watching it. Mud's Passion. It is. Let me just check. The 10th episode to air, but it was the 8th produced. And it's the return of Harry Mudd. There. I'm just trying to get things a little bit situated. And I do recognize the irony that I think it was just last week where I said something about is because I was starting streams early. So many other people start streams late. Forgetting is different than just tardiness, though, and I just completely forgot yesterday. I mean, yeah, no real excuse. Just weird schedule happened, so doing it now and not waiting until 9 because I figure now let's try to get it in before 24 hours elapse. Fortunately, no one really watches these, it seems. So yeah. Oh, I just realized that I never saved the change there. Okay, will that actually update? I don't know. So explaining a little bit, because I didn't schedule it, I just hit start stream. It started on Rumble first. It had to then, I guess, send the data over to YouTube to start anything there. Let me do that. Which may also explain why does not have a thumbnail. Also, not surprisingly, the oh, okay, no, wait. Oh, cool. Awesome. That is actually really neat. Wow. Okay. Because I just hit to save the information in Rumble Studio. It actually pushed it over to YouTube. So I saw the thumbnail appear and I saw the title got updated. Wow, that's actually really neat. Even though I'm pretty sure I did say in the last video, I'm not sure I'm going to be continuing this once I finish with the animated series. It's really neat to see that the Rumble Studio is working in this way. So yeah, I mean that's even when it is just a pick up stream, go and make streams, it gets pushed out properly. That's really cool. And just to part of the reason why I'm doing this is not just because it's fun. It's not just that. It is also I want to see how the streaming stuff works. Because hey, who knows? Maybe I would get friends at some point such that. Hang on, no, not. No, this one. It's different again. Oh wait, no. I need to do that such that I can be here and somebody else there and somebody else over there. There we go. Oh yeah, I'm doing that. But yeah, but I need to get friends, and that. How could that ever happen? So anyway, let's actually get to Star Trek: The Animated Series, Mud's Passion, which is the return of Harry Mudd, and it's I'll admit I don't actually look at the credits, but when pulling up the trivia, I mean it was obvious. It was completely obvious that they got the original guy to play Mudd, but it says he was actually uncredited, and that is so disappointing. That really is disappointing. But it was great to see him there. Well, to hear him there. Because I mean, Mudd, I do get, I do understand why some people don't like it. It is more comedic, and if you want a more serious kind of Star Trek, it does still have serious aspects to it, but no, it's definitely comedic. It's definitely humorous. It is also one of those things that. So, just quick reminder: part of the reason why I'm doing this is because Graham Nolan on his channel has been doing the Landing Party and went through the original Star Trek, but stopped after going through the movies and didn't do the animated series, didn't do um, TNG, Deep Space Nine, Voyager, and is not doing any of those. That's fine. Hey, he can make the choice. And I said, you know what? I got a channel, I got a camera, I got a mic. Why don't I just do this? And that also just reminded me. That's looking fine, but let me turn those off. I don't need Rumble's echo cancellation because I'm alone, and I don't need the noise reduction because I'm running things through OBS and it already has noise reduction. So anyway, but it was interesting because if I remember correctly, part of my impression from the Landing Party's reactions, minus Anna, who I'm pretty sure is younger than me, but the three older guys who got to watch Star Trek when it was first on, or at least are old enough for that, it is interesting that the generational separation there is between, and I'm something of an old soul, but it still is. There's very much a generational divide, and I don't know how much it is. I would have been watching Star Trek knowing it's a classic. If maybe some people want to say a cult classic, that's fine, but knowing it's a classic, whereas they were watching it live or at the first reruns. So you don't necessarily know. So there's that element to it. And also, I would have been, TNG, it was already running by the time I was born. So it had already achieved the success of movies and new series. So, yeah, it is interesting that it would be so different. That it's like, I enjoy it. Yeah, it's more comedic. iMud is more comedic, and I like that. But, other people, it seems that older generations might be like, nah, I want the series stuff, which is also funny to me because I think I mentioned this previously. Maybe not. The original series of Star Trek poses an interesting problem compared to TNG and on, and even the movies. Not completely, but definitely TNG and on. That is, it was made to be a television show, whereas TNG and on were made to be Star Trek shows. Well, not really Enterprise. Enterprise is not that good a show. But in any case, TNG definitely was, Deep Space Nine definitely was, Voyager, more or less we'll say was, Enterprise, less so, but they were trying to make a Star Trek show, so they tried to have continuity and such that they did not bother with for the original series. It's actually, yeah. So, the next episode, so the one for next week, hopefully I will remember, is episode 8, was produced 9th, The Magics of Megas 2. That's actually the earliest star date of all Star Trek. Yeah, that's the earliest star date. We have, and by the way, if you think, well, wait, what about Enterprise? Is this before Enterprise? No, it's not before Enterprise. Enterprise doesn't use star dates. It uses conventional dates, like 21 whatever. I can't actually look that up because it should be in this database. I don't remember what year it was for them. 2150, 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, but they weren't using star dates yet. Which in a way makes sense because, this is actually one of the examples. In the original series, they were just picking numbers, it seems, for the star dates. They didn't make sense, and it certainly didn't map down to our established calendar. But with TNG, they're actually codes. It's rough, but it's 40-something. Well, whatever it's for, but whatever that second digit there is, was actually the season number for TNG, and they followed that then for Deep Space Nine and Voyager with the spinoff. So they had to keep increasing like that, but every year, every new season, you'd see that number increment. So, yeah, they actually tried there, whereas the original series, they didn't. And I wonder how much that has an impact on some of this. On the generational differences. That's like, I grew up with stuff where there was more that effort to have the consistency, the coherency, but also the lore. So, and I know I need to come back to this episode. Although, actually, this one, because you do have Kirk and Spock beamed down to a planet. In TNG, early on, it's definitely in season 1, it might even be episode 1, it is stated that the captain and first officer are never to beam down on an away mission together. Because you need one of them to stay on board the ship. It's to stay in command. It's basically continuity command. It's that kind of thing. And hey, that makes perfect sense. Obviously, it's not the case in the original series or animated. So yeah, but that is something. You get that lore there because it makes sense. Why would you endanger that? It also can help explain in TNG Riker and Picard having such different personalities, different temperaments, different approaches, because they are filling different roles. That it's more likely Riker's going to be sent out than Picard, depending on the mission. But whereas with the original series and also this, Kirk is the star, Spock is the star. They need to get this stuff in. TNG, nope. Changes who the star is. So yeah. Anyway, different approach. Let's get to this. So yes, we got Mudd back, Harry Mudd back, and he's Harry Mudd. And it's interesting, they were actually sent specifically to arrest him. Whereas for both Mudd's women and sorry, my eyes are just a little sore. For both Mudd's women and I'm Mudd, as I recall, they just encountered him. And he was committing crimes. But they just encountered him. They weren't searching for him. I think that was the case. Well, okay. Yeah, I'm Mudd. He was actually summoned by Mudd. The Enterprise was summoned by Mudd. But is still they didn't intentionally go to find him. But this, nope, they're hunting him down. They find him on a planet that apparently is a mining colony, or at least has miners there. And he is full-on snake oil salesman, as usual. And is looking to sell them what he claims is a love potion. He's got these crystals that a love potion is inside. And he's like, yes, all you gotta do is you crack them, put the potion on yourself, and this on its own will make you attractive to the opposite sex. But if you actually put your hand on them then, if you touch them then, they are now going to fall in love with you. Okay? And that's what he's offering. So we're kind of doing Mudd's women again, because in that, it was, you still had a potion thing, but it was a beauty potion. He had 3 women who he, more or less mail order brides, which, I'll talk about that in a moment. And he's trying to bring them, at a fee, to this, to a world with basically just 3 guys on there, who are miners, I think. Well, they're at least prospectors, and they're lonely. So, yeah, brings them there. But Mudd also has this Venus drug, I think it was called, that when the women take, it makes them just absolutely beautiful. Basically, Instagram filter. Okay, it turns that on, but it is for only a certain amount of time. Wears off. And one of the women, and this is what really provokes the larger issue, is just gets kind of fed up with this, and tries, and doesn't like the whole the falsity of it. That she thinks, oh, the man that she's agreed to marry is only in love with her because of her beauty and nothing else, and she doesn't want to be so lacking of dignity, so unvalued that it's just her appearance. But at the end, spoiler, what happens there is Kirk gives her basically a placebo version of the drug, and it still makes her beautiful. And the explanation is that you are beautiful. You're the one that has to carry yourself with that beauty, though. So it's like, by doing that yourself, you had the beauty within you. You just need to learn how to bring it out, and she finally does. And also, it's very much indicated that no, she will be a good wife and a loving wife to this man, because it's also, I think it was her, it might have been one of the other 2 women, because they are living on a harsh world, the prospectors, and when part of the reason that this one guy at least wanted the mail order bride was the whole, he hates cooking. He doesn't want to have to cook for himself. He doesn't want to clean the dishes. He hates all that. She is the one who suggests hanging them outside, because it's basically a sandstorm all year round. The sand will just beat the pans clean, which, by the way, that's a real thing. I don't know how much it's done today, but definitely in the like Westward expansion days for America, that's exactly what people would do, is put them outside when there's a storm like that, because it'll clean them for them. And possibly better. But anyway, but yeah, the mail order bride thing, I just feel like mentioning, because that is one of those weird things. I don't know if it still goes on. I can believe it doesn't, just because of the great risk of human trafficking. Like, oh boy. Whew. But there is an aspect to it that I know the word I want to use, but to use it, there's other connotations to that word that people might not understand. So hopefully I will be able to explain it. But there is a certain romance to it. It is somewhat romantic, but in that idealized kind of sense of the word, in that you can have two people that are just lonely. Who, I mean, even with the mail order bride stuff, there is communication first. Okay, it's not you're just picking somebody out of a catalog and they arrive. Okay, there is communication there, so that both parties are consenting to this. But so just to be clear on that, but there is a certain romantic ideal there, in that it's two people just choosing to let this happen. That they're not trying necessarily to show off. Well, sometimes they do, but it's like, in the letters and such, he's still going to be trying to do that. Trying to be impressive, trying to win the person, but it's also you are just choosing to together love each other and be partners and work hard together. Because in some cases, mining town, hey, I'm a miner, I got money, but I don't have a wife, I don't have a family, I have nothing here. Yeah, I got my guy friends, but that's not the same thing. Hey, here's a woman that says she's willing to take this on with me, and all I need to do is pay for her fare to come here. She'll come. It's and some communication back and forth, making sure something, and that actually, and if they come, if this works out physically, them getting there, but then it actually happens, how's that not actually romantic? I mean, look, it is no less romantic than plenty of silly scenarios set up in rom-coms, okay? Let's be real. Yeah, so with this, though, it's a variant of that, because now he's selling a love potion. So it's hey, you already know the person you want, potentially. Crack these, so the potion's on you, and touch them, and hey, now they're going to fall in love with you. That is arguably worse than mail order brides and husbands, by the way. That would actually be worse, because they're not necessarily consenting to that. Yeah, that is definitely worse. But by the way, I do also want to mention with the mail order bride stuff. You do see that in some classic westerns. I know there's a Have Gun Will Travel with a mail order bride who, I'm trying to think of the best way to describe it. I think Mousy, think librarian, shy librarian, who basically decides she doesn't like her life as it is. I think she actually was a librarian. She doesn't like her life like that, saw this opportunity, and there were letters exchanged, and she felt for the guy, and it's you know what? Yes, let's do it. And Paladin he's the main character in Have Gun Will Travel. He accidentally ends up, he's a bounty hunter, by the way. He accidentally ends up being an escort for her, because she comes out west, has no idea of anything there, gets left at 3 Rocks, which is literally 3 rocks along the way that the stagecoach is taking, and Paladin's I'm going to get off, I'm going to stay with you. I don't need you. Yes, you do. You clearly have no idea what you're doing. You have no idea how to survive out here. I'm going to stay with you until somebody comes and gets you because you will die if I don't. And he just stays involved. And more stuff happens, but you do see she's concerned about her looks. When they finally meet the guy, he doesn't care. He already fell in love with her just from the letters. So that all works out well. It's also an episode of The Riflemen. With that one is actually basically a retelling of Cyrano de Bergerac. But still, that's a good episode. And yeah. And is that also a... I'm trying to remember. I think there was also another Have Gun Will Travel where it was 3 women, but I think they were actually being brought in as like saloon girls, so not mail order brides. And there was concern about, like, you know, they get brought in there, it's gonna lead the town to sinning, but there were also like 3 guys there who wanted wives, and these men were like, they're cool. I mean, so it works out that way. You'd be surprised how much romantic comedy there is in classic westerns. And by the way, Rifleman, very good. Have Gun Will Travel, very good. I actually have the Rifleman down there. At some point I will get my own copy of the Rifleman. My parents have that. But you can also watch them on MeTV. Have Gun Will Travel, I think, is only on the weekends. The Rifleman is weekdays. I don't quite remember when, though. But yeah, and there's also, if you are just going with MeTV, they've got Gunsmoke, they've got Wagon Train, Wild Wild West, but that's kind of a live-action cartoon, is how I'd put that. What else do they have? They used to have Maverick. Haven't played that for a while. Oh no, they haven't had Trackdown for a while. Wanted Dead or Alive, though, they have, which that's a Steve McQueen. Oh, Rawhide, so Clint Eastwood. I should come back to this, shouldn't I? As I said earlier, I'm an old soul. Okay, I know this stuff. I like this stuff. So anyway, getting back to this, he's trying to sell these love potions. Spock and Kirk beam down, and it's like, dude, we need to stop you, but it's also don't have the ability to arrest you. Fortunately, Spock has a solution, because Mudd has to prove himself. He has to prove the potion in order to sell. Because, why would these random men trust him? Well, he's, trusted me enough to buy the potions. Like, well, here's this woman, and let me just show you. It's like, do that, and touch her, and it's like, oh, Mudd, please, Harcourt, please, well, Harry, but please take me back to your ship. Let's get out of here. All that. But Spock is like, yeah, that's not a woman. That's actually this other species that can project images into your minds. So it's all fake, and he actually shoots this thing with a phaser to expose the illusion. And so they're ready to stone Harry, and Sir Kirk is like, would you like to surrender into our custody? Yes. That aligns very well with Harry Mudd. So they beam him up, and couple things happen. They put him in the brig because he's under arrest, but he also needs to be checked out, and this by Nurse Chapel. And it's so in the original series, it is indicated very much that, and it's basically very completely known, she has feelings for Spock. And Harry is able to read this off of how she and he interact. And so he starts trying to tempt her with the love potion, because, hey, you can use this and you'll win him. Like, he will love you if you use this. And she's, nope, should not do that, cannot do that. But he keeps pushing, and including with the whole, well, I mean, you're a scientist, so aren't you interested in this? Well, yes, I guess I am curious about it. And it's like, well, here, why don't you take some so you can analyze them? It's like, oh, yes. Yeah, I'll take it to the lab. Oh, but if you do that, you'll destroy it. So you won't actually. So if it proves true, you won't know. Really, you should test it in the way it was meant to be used. And she's falling for this, and it's like, I mean, Nurse Chapel should be more intelligent than that. But she is a human being who has this unrequited love that is... I'm trying to think of the best way to put it. I mean, it is a sharp enough experience for her that, yeah, it makes sense the temptation would exist for her. Her giving into it is disappointing, but it's not unreasonable. So, yeah. So she takes and does decide to try it, and needs to turn the medical report into Spock, and so when going to and just like, oops, slips to put her hands on him. And he's like, "Are you okay?" "Yes. Do you feel anything, Mr. Spock?" "Why would I feel anything, Miss Chapel?" So now she's feeling horrible because she feels embarrassed. It's only Spock, but she feels embarrassed. And is angry and is like, "I'm gonna go kill Mud." Well, he gave me a guarantee. I'm coming to collect. But this is when she notices that when she had to lower the force field to get the crystals from him, he stole her phaser and her ID. Excuse me for a moment. I had popcorn earlier and felt a hole in my throat and needed to cough. Okay. So she realizes that he's missing, and is like, I'm gonna find him. I'm gonna deal with him, because she is embarrassed already as far as not being able to get Spock to love her, but also by just the whole situation of him having manipulated her successfully to escape. She manages to find him, though, and with a karate chop to the neck, at least puts him on the ground so she can grab the phaser back. Not sure about her ID, but he'd made to the shuttle bay. And he gets back up because, okay, yeah, it's fair. She is a lieutenant, although, well, okay, no, I guess that does make sense. I was thinking when it said lieutenant, I'm just like, should she really just be a lieutenant? Would it make sense for her to be a rank higher? But it's like, you know what? No, actually, lieutenant does make sense. Plus, I'm trying to remember, McCoy might only be a lieutenant commander. So it would be odd for him to have the same rank as his main nurse. But he also might be a full commander. I don't remember. The key to finding out would be to look at the braids on their sleeves and see if his match either Spock's or Scotty's. Because Spock definitely is full commander. I think Scotty is as well. He might also be a lieutenant commander, but Spock has to be a full commander. But yeah, so the ranks are by the braids on their sleeves. But anyway, in the struggle, Mud ends up stunning her, and so is able to take her as a hostage into a shuttlecraft to try to leave. But also, more of the crystals, because he had more on him, they do drop. He was pretending with her as though only the one. But he drops them actually by a vent, and they break, so now the potion is in the air system. So he gets on shuttlecraft with her and heads to a nearby planet, because they were surveying a system, and found that, oh, this is a binary star system that just happens to have an M-class planet. That's very rare. I'm actually not sure on that one. I'm not sure. So, binary stars are more common than single stars. Like, the sun is a bit of an anomaly in that way. An M-class planet just means that it has the right size to be terrestrial, has the right composition to have an atmosphere and water, and then it just needs to be the right distance away from the suns. Which would obviously be, likely be further away than Earth is, because I'm just going to assume that the binary stars are brighter together than the sun. But The orbit doesn't have to be weird because it would be orbiting the center of gravity between the two stars, just as they are orbiting those points. It's not like Pitch Black, where it tries to suggest there would be a planet inside the orbits of the stars. That doesn't, well, in the way they depict it, no. Technically, you could have two stars orbiting each other so far apart that there could be another object that would be in the center, but this would have to be a much smaller star, this one much larger, so that the center of gravity would be in here, and then you just planet going around like that. But it would be like, Jupiter and the sun being binary, and then the Earth just in the middle. I'm pretty sure that is not the case, though, that most binary stars, their orbits would actually put them within, like, even the orbit of Mercury, I think. I have to check on that. Because, man, I know I've heard that, but it's been a very long time. Anyway, M-class, it's like, that's not unreasonable to me. It's possible, it's possible. Being a binary star, I don't know why that would exclude the possibility, make it so unlikely to find a planet, except for the majority of the mass of the star system will be in the stars. There might not have been enough mass to form planets. Anyway. So, the shuttlecraft is headed there. The Enterprise obviously is going to give chase. But we also learned something else. The potion works. The microphone is there, by the way. Yeah, because Spock is starting to feel this, and it's like, we have to go. We have to go. We have to save my Christine. It's like, oh boy. And even with it, before getting to that point, before they knew that Mudd and she were missing, he's on the bridge and even says to Kirk and McCoy, I am feeling unusual emotions. And they're like, what? Well, this is awkward. Why Bones is not only on the bridge, but actually has his own station there, I'm unsure of, because he typically, if he's there, it's as a guest. But anyway, then they find out she's that Mudd and Chapel are missing, and he's like, we have to go, we have to go, we have to go, we have to go, we have to go. It's like, you can say, I will beam down, I will lead the search party, okay, I will do this, the landing party, I will do this. And Kirk's like, okay, I'll go with you. Calm down, we'll go. So they go to the transporter room, and Spock is again like, come on, we need to beam down faster, we need to beam, if he's hurt one hair on her head. It's just, it's a little silly, but, and about this time, the potion has successfully made it through the ventilation that people on the bridge are actually starting to feel it. So Scotty has come up, so he's in command, and let me see, since I still have the IMDb page up. Let me see if I can. Her isn't in it. It's the Catwoman thing. Okay. Oh, okay. That makes sense. But we don't have a name. Oh, wait, no. Okay. Lieutenant Emress. I think that's it, then. There's an Ursinoid minor. That Nichelle Nichols played. She didn't. Her isn't in this episode. We have this. I think it's Emress. Lieutenant Emress. I think that's who is serving in communications. But she and Scotty are starting to give eyes to each other and all that because of the potion. By the way, it was also mentioned that when Haley is talking, when Mudd is talking to Chapel, that the potion between two of the same sex, it provokes friendship. It makes them great friends. It's between the opposite sexes that, so man to woman or woman to man, that you see the romantic love occur. And this is important because apparently Kirk was exposed to the drugs such that when after they beam down, he's like, "Hey, Spock, it's great to have you as such a close good friend." And they even have you in like their arms on each other, and it's like, yeah. I mean, The embrace is a little odd, but, I mean, at this point, these two are supposed to be actually the best of friends. So, to the point that, I hated it. I thought it was so stupid. In, the prologue, no, introduction, that was supposedly written by Captain Kirk for the motion picture novelization, talks about that the word used to describe their relationship in Vulcan does actually translate as basically brothers, or even closer than brothers. It implies that as well, that these two are that close, which is also then why in Search for Spock, Sarek so much expected it would be Kirk carrying Spock's Katra, because that's the man that he would pick, that Spock would pick, not McCoy. McCoy is suitable, but it's like, no. Kirk and Spock, they are the best friends. But what's also mentioned in that introduction is that the word also has the meaning of love or lover, which, in the non-romantic sense, that it's familial love, fraternal love, brotherly love. It's like, no, that makes sense. But it's also apparently used for romantic love. Why you'd have those two go together, I'm not entirely sure for that language. But apparently, when this was learned of, there were jokes made that Kirk never really heard, and Spock, when he heard them, would just ignore them, but he would hear them. So it's like, I mean, they're already supposed to be very close friends. We don't really need it going further, going to being sappy. But anyway, they're on the planet now. So are Mudd and Chapel, and Mudd is like, I mean, it doesn't matter that this planet appears uninhabited. I'm going to find a way out of here. And say, and hey, don't worry, it's uninhabited, Christine. That means no one here is going to be a threat to you. Well, it turns out it is inhabited by giant rock monsters. As in, it looks like it's a stony hill behind them. No, it's an actual just creature that gets up and eventually starts attacking them. And it's big. And it doesn't care about phasers. So this is a bad situation because, yes, you do have 3 phasers between them. Between the 4 that are down there. But Kirk is touched by the potion such that he's extra friendly with Spock. And Spock is touched by the potion such that he is, with Christine, it's like, this is my woman, I need to protect her at all costs. Yeah, and it doesn't help that the whole of the ship is now being impacted, the whole of the Enterprise. Which is also a little funny because McCoy is laying some lines on a woman, and it's just like, oh my god. Where it's like, did I tell you about the time I saved Captain Kirk's life? Did I tell you about the time I saved Spock's life? Or Scotty's life? You know what? Just about everyone on this ship I've saved. If the Enterprise had a heart, I'd have saved it too. Speaking of which, how's your heart? It's like, really? It's just silly. So you got that. They're also kind of distracted, but in the transport room, because like, Kirk's like, beam us up. We, rock monsters. We emergency beam out. The 2 people there are dancing instead of paying attention. Not a good situation. Eventually, they are able to hail the ship, but before that, it still is we kind of have giant rock monsters. What are we gonna do? I was actually looking away writing notes, but I'm pretty sure what they did, because it was set up. I saw the setup. Is Mudd still had a couple of the potion crystals, and I'm pretty sure they just threw them at the 2. There ended up being 2 of these rock monsters. So it's like, I mean, what have we got to lose? So they use that so they start hitting each other, or at least are distracted enough that it buys them time. So then somebody is like actually waking up and will beam them up. We also start seeing Scotty and MS. Is that the name? I just want to... Yeah, I think MS. I'm not certain. I think so. Partly it's also because it was Madge Barrett doing the voice, and I know when MS has been in a previous episode, it was her voice. So I know that, so I'm pretty sure that is her. They have been getting on well. I mean, they stayed on the bridge, but it's they start being like, why am I even talking to you? I don't like you at all. And it's like, you know what, Lassie? I don't think much of you either. So what we eventually see, how it ends is Chapel is taking Mud's confession, and Spock comes in and sees how it's going, and she's basically, what do you want? So concerning that potion, Harry, a few moments of love for hours of hatred doesn't quite seem worth it. Because apparently that is the hangover effect of this potion. That it does lead you to then hating the other person, at least for a time. I mean, it's also a little bit funny, yeah, with all that, but it actually ends with Harry talking about how, yes, but, it's still so nice being here amongst my loved ones. By the way, one thing I forgot to mention, he did admit that he swindled these from an alien who told him these were the properties. He didn't realize that he was being told the truth. He was just being told there was a love potion. It's like, all right, fine, I'll just steal it and sell it and profit from it. So very much what Harry Mudd would do. But yeah, it is. He did get it from an alien who was like, yeah, this is what's going to happen. So, at least the love potion, not necessarily the hatred potion. The hatred portion of it, I should say. I need to quickly check one thing in my notes. Yep. Couldn't remember if I had done that or not. So yeah, I'm giving this one a straight recommendation. I definitely recommend it because it is fun and it's. I enjoyed it. I don't think it's a weak recommendation. I think, yeah, straight recommendation is most appropriate. There might be stronger examples of it in the series, but it's still it's a fun one. It's not very science fiction-y, which that's fine. It's fine. If I remember, I'll come back to that thought. You don't need Star Trek to always be science fiction in its story. You don't really need that. You can just have a fun one. Yeah, I mean, I don't really think there were any weaknesses there. It was just fun and enjoyable. So the thing that I paused on to mention, and hopefully I will be able to explain it well, is because I wanted to say Star Trek, you do also have its science fiction setting. And as though you say, oh, well, that makes it science fiction. But no, that doesn't. Because if the science fiction itself isn't relevant to the story, then it doesn't really matter. I mean, it's like how Star Wars is not science fiction. It's science fantasy. Because the setting is science fiction, but nothing, and even then, it's not very good science fiction in some cases. But it's basically wizards and knights. So yeah, it's, not really science fiction. Nothing against it. It's just, we need to be honest with the genre. So yeah, I mean, just by saying that, oh, well, Star Trek has science fiction, the science fiction setting does not make something itself a science fiction story. This story, no, it's not really a science fiction story, but that's okay. It's not like Star Trek needs to always be that. You can have other stories within that setting, because in theory, if this were real, that's just, you would have stories like this still happen. I'm just, like in real life, you can say, with this potion or not, you can have love story. Going back to the whole mail order bride thing, that's technically a love story, but they can also be an action story. When the Indians come and they have to, hold their own or at least hide from that. It's like, which is other episodes of Have Gun Will Travel. I mean, it's like, you still have those other things going on, and then there's nothing wrong with that. It doesn't really change the larger genre if you deviate a little bit. And I know I'm not really explaining that very well. Genre is weird. It just is, because, and I'm saying this also as a writer, the genre is weird because fundamentally you need to feel free to write whatever story you want, whatever the genre is. The genre, at least in my opinion. And there are people that they are genre writers, and that's different. That's different. I'm not. But if you just have an idea for a story, worry about what the genre is later. Because maybe you're thinking about the story and it's like, oh yeah, I need wizards in this. There's going to be magic in there, so it's fantasy. It's like, okay. It's like the genre, in my opinion, should flow from what the story is versus I'm picking the genre and then figuring out what the story is. But I will grant, there are also genre writers where, no, they pick a genre and they just write a story in there. In fact, in a way, I mean, actually, no, yeah, that's true. What AI is for AI slop books, and to be clear, when I say AI slop, I don't mean just anything made by AI. I mean where it's basically there's no human touch at all. That, to me, is slop. But that technically would be in genre writing, because it is, and forgive me, anyone who is a genre writer, okay? I'm not saying you are of the same quality. I'm saying that the function is similar, in that you're basically giving prompts to the AI, including what the genre is, and then it just puts together a story and spits it out. I do not doubt, far lower quality than an actual genre writer. But there are genre writers where that's exactly what they do. It's like, I once heard about a guy, this would have been 11, 12 years ago, I think. Where I don't remember what it was that he preferred to write, but he got a job as I think he may have been a ghostwriter, I don't quite remember. But it was he needed to write basically a book a month that were ghost stories. I don't remember if he was also a ghostwriter, but it's like book a month of just ghost stories. Because that's what his job was. And so that was genre writing. And there's nothing wrong with that. That's a fine job. It's not my job, unfortunately. I honestly, with how slow I'm going with some of my own writing, I don't know how much of that is... Am I losing it? Or am I just struggling because of what my schedule is? Because you can say, no, I'm trying to think of the self-published of the 5 novels I've self-published. I know one of them I wrote that first draft in 1 month. I think that there was a second as well. I don't remember. But yeah, no, it can be like, yeah, out in a month. I'm trying to remember how long did So Many Gifts take? I don't remember how long it took me. I know I was editing that for like a year, which is fine. I mean, considering how long it is, and also I intentionally took pauses there and never regretted it, by the way. I never regretted it. Where it's like, yeah, take a break. And, maybe the break ends up being, instead of 1 month, because I got other things to do in that month, becomes 2 or 3 months. But I'm still thinking about it, so I'm making notes and realize that, you know what, yeah, I should change it this way. And just as things continue to just settle in my mind. So it's... But I do wonder if I didn't... Like, if I could take a month-long sabbatical, could I write a full story in that time? I don't know. I'd like to believe I could, but I legitimately don't know. I do not know. My schedule is not my own, though, so it's not as though I would be able to test that anytime soon. Anyway, just trying to think if there's anything else to mention, but nothing really coming to mind. Hopefully I will remember to do this again on a Saturday at 9 p.m. The schedule that I tried to set and just failed to keep because, as I said, my schedule is not my own, and this weekend my schedule is not at all like normal schedule, and just left my brain. Also, doing this only once a week doesn't help either. Makes it easier for me to forget. But next week is to be the Magics of Megas 2, which, as I already mentioned, has the earliest star date. Of 1254.4, which does put it, for the known star dates for the original series, I'm pretty sure one of the pilots does have one, puts it prior to that even. Because I do have it here. I can just look. Okay, When No Man Has Gone Before is 1312.4 to 1313.8. The Cage does not have a star date. So it is, technically by star date, is the earliest known Kirk story. Well, Kirk as Captain of the Enterprise story. We don't know when The Cage is, so yeah. Yeah, so that'll be interesting. I have actually been looking forward to it specifically because of that odd trivia, which, by the way, the landing party trivia, that was in fact one of the questions I have, is what is the earliest star date? What is the earliest Star Trek story by star date? And I would have clarified that we don't count Enterprise because it doesn't use star dates. And chances are they would have gotten it wrong. Because who would think? I mean, for one thing, they weren't doing the animated series. Let me just check. Okay. So I just pulling up the according to Stardate, what is the earliest Star Trek story across broadcast Star Trek? And it would be The Magics of Megas 2. But then I also had the second question of, according to Stardate, what is the earliest original series Star Trek story? And that is When No Man Has Gone Before, which is the original pilot. Well, the original Kirk pilot was aired episode 3, though. So that one actually would not have been at all surprising for people that would be the earliest. But it is still it's like the final episode produced and aired Turnabout Intruder. It's just, as I was saying, they weren't doing things consistently. That started was 5928.5 to 5930.3. But All Our Yesterdays, the second to last episode, both produced and aired, was 5943.7 to 5943.9. So it actually is the last by stardate. Yeah. I don't believe TNG or Deep Space Nine or Voyager ever flipped stardates. I'm pretty sure they kept that pretty consistent. Yeah. All right. So yeah, hopefully I will remember and be able to my brain just turned off a little bit. Be able to come here and talk about Megas 2 on Saturday. Hopefully it will work that way. Maybe I should set an alarm. I don't know. How many more of these have I got left to do? 13. Oh, sorry, 14. 14. All right. And at some point I know I will be... I will most likely have to take a break. Just not going to be around. Vacation kind of thing. Kind of. Emphasis on kind of. But yeah. I don't know. To me, what that will entail is, for me, not a vacation. All right. So with that, sorry, I forgot yesterday, but as I said, one advantage to nobody watching. Yay. That doesn't matter. So hopefully, if anyone watches these things after the fact, you're not watching them Sunday morning or during the week. So hey, this will